She graduated in May of 2005, and 3 weeks later, he killed her. If you put the pieces together, it looks like she was breaking up with him, that they were in the throes of breaking up at that time, just if you fit all the conversations that happened that day with her and her friends, and then what eventually happened.
Do you think about what you might have said, or what you might have done, or how this could have ended differently?
Obviously, as a father or as a husband, you try to protect other family members, and you'd stand in the way if you could. I mean, I've actually pictured that, that I would. The night before this happened, and then in the early hours of that next day, of the day it happened, she and I actually traded several emails back and forth. And with the information that came later about what really happened, I look back at those emails, and I don't think, knowing what I knew then, that I would have acted on them. But knowing what I know today, I would have acted on them. I would have seen through them. I would have asked more about her. I would have just called her at that point in time, even though it's late, but for college kids, late is not late. So knowing what I know now, I would have done a better job about that. But I honestly think there are a lot of people who've had this happen or know about our story that are now on the alert, and they know how to take little fractional pieces of warning signs and build them into a potential bad story, and they act on things. It's kind of a story of a group of people, a family and a child, who are trying very hard to do what seems like the right thing to do. So you figure if you're kind of taking the right steps, that you won't have a hard left turn like this happen in your life. So right, it's completely counterintuitive that somebody's going to be murdered by a boyfriend when they seem like they're studying hard, interviewing, getting a job, taking off in life. You have to do the best job possible with schools and at home to try to get as much information out. And I think the more that the information's in school or in the media, those types of places where it's kind of seems a little served up in a little more of an objective way, not some contrived way where a parent's trying to tell you a horror story and say, and see, that could happen to you too. I'm proud of all of us for taking a tragedy that would probably ruin most people. I mean, they would just withdraw and live in a cave, or I don't know what they would do. I don't know. We haven't thought about that, about doing that, I mean. But, and I feel proud of us. I mean, it's hard. I mean, things like this interview are very hard. They're hard. Once we get into it, we're rolling, but these things are, I know Michelle specifically, I mean, the level of dread is incredible. So, but the real benefit of doing what we do is when once in a while you'll get an email. Once in a while, I gave a talk at my daughter's college in April, and someone came up to us afterwards and said, I heard you speak here 2 years ago. Talk about warning signs, talk about your daughter. Well, I was dating a guy at that time, and a lot of what you were talking about was happening to me at that time. And it's because of your talk I got out of that relationship. You just hope that you can help somebody else dodge that boulder. It's very prevalent. It's just something it's kind of what some people would call icky, or some people will call a crime of embarrassment. If somebody hurts you, if you're a teenager and your boyfriend hurts you, about the last people you're going to go to are your parents. Because what are they going to do? You're not going to see that guy, or your dad's going to want to go see that guy. I mean, that's a disaster. If your boyfriend hurts you, you're not going to go to the police. This is your boyfriend. So you're not going to really want to go to anybody. So you're kind of on your own. So you don't have coping skills. You're a young person. I mean, you got a real nightmare on your hands with this type of thing. And it just gets worse. I mean, it's not going to be like a few bad times and then it just stops. I mean, it can roll along.
As a mother, you have daughters, you think of talking to them about watch out for boys who are sexual predators, or watch out for boys who put things in your drinks, but you never think to warn them about watch out for a boy who might be out to do you harm, who might kill you.
I ask questions, but not as much, and sometimes it comes back to me, and I do think, I'm thinking, wow, maybe I should have quizzed her a little bit more. But the interesting thing was that several times I remember saying, and this was towards the end, I guess she was still in school, and I would say, well, she would say, well, here, we're doing this today, or we're doing that today. You know, we had emails or telephone conversations. And at one point I said, well, how's everything going? And I remember one of the comments was, well, yeah, there's some issues. It's not the perfect relationship. But I didn't delve into it. And once again, you think, well, gosh, you know, maybe I should have. I wish I had known more. And I didn't. And, you know, once again, we get into the digital technology. And you know, certainly didn't grow up in a time where everybody's texting one another and cell phones. You know, we had the one phone in the house and everyone knew who you were talking with. And I had no idea that it was so much of a controlling factor. But after, of course, after this did happen, talking with our friends, it was pretty much constant, you know, always checking up on her, constantly text messenger, where are you, what are you doing, which are a lot of the warning signs that you read now. And in fact, after her graduation, she and I had gone to the beach for a few days, and looking back on that, it was constant. I mean, constant text messaging. And I was like, gosh, well, I just have to text message him back. It was constant. I don't know. Of course, I didn't read them. I don't know. But you know, I understand from the education that things that we've learned at this point, that that's a real warning sign when somebody's sending you a gazillion text messages. You know, you've got your 30 or 40, however many text messages. Who are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? You know, when are you going to be home? And one of the things I remember, it's just kind of odd, because we were at the ocean and we were saying, well, can you stay longer? Well, no, he wanted her to get back because he wanted to do something. No, she had to get back. And I think feeling that control. So, but once again, I didn't piece everything together, because I'm thinking, well, okay, I just didn't know. I didn't have the education. I think when we always used to think of domestic abuse, we would think of, wow, someone's hitting, there's a black eye, you know, this person has bruises. And I think now that's the difference, though. And I think with the digital technology, I think this is where you're seeing more of the control. There's more of a chance to be checking up on somebody.